Welcome to Karma Canvas, the king's dream, how the mind creates reality, the story of Lavana. In the sacred teachings of the Yoga Vasistha, the great sage Vasistha imparts to Prince Rama the deepest mysteries of consciousness itself. These are not mere stories, but windows into the nature of reality that have illuminated countless seekers across millennia. Today, we explore a tale so profound that it shatters our understanding of what is real and what is illusion. The story of King Lavana and the extraordinary power of the human mind. Vasistha begins by revealing a profound principle. The mind, in its infinite creative capacity, spreads itself throughout consciousness itself. Like an actor who can portray countless characters one after another, the mind assumes different forms and experiences. It makes the short appear long and the long appear short. It magnifies the insignificant and diminishes the vast. In a single moment, the mind can create countless worlds, and in the very next moment, destroy them completely. In the prosperous kingdom of Uttarapandava, there reigned a king named Lavana, a noble descendant of the great king Harischandra. He was righteous, wise, and just, a ruler whose enemies trembled at the mere thought of him. All seemed well in his kingdom. Peace and prosperity filled the land. But one fateful day, something extraordinary would occur that would forever change Lavana's understanding of existence itself. As King Lavana sat upon his throne one morning, receiving homage from his ministers and courtiers, a strange figure appeared in the royal court. He was a juggler, yet something about him was uncanny, mysterious. With a flourish of peacock feathers, he presented the king with a gift, a horse of exquisite beauty, unlike any Lavana had ever seen. The juggler bowed and spoke with an unusual intensity. "Your Majesty, I offer you this magnificent steed. I invite you to mount it and roam freely throughout the world, experiencing adventures beyond imagination." King Lavana gazed upon the horse and something stirred within him. Without speaking, he closed his eyes and became completely motionless. The entire court fell into profound silence. No one dared disturb the king's meditation. Then, after what seemed like an eternity, Lavana's eyes suddenly opened. He began to tremble violently, as though seized by terror. As he nearly collapsed, his ministers rushed to support him, bewildered by his sudden transformation.
Holy sage, what caused such sudden fear to grip the heart of such a wise and mighty king? How could a man of such great learning and spiritual development be so utterly overwhelmed by delusion?
Listen carefully, dear Rama. The king asked his ministers with great confusion, "Who are you? What are you doing to me?" The ministers responded, "Your Majesty, you are a powerful king of great wisdom, yet this delusion has overpowered you. Those attached to worldly objects and false relationships suffer such mental aberrations, but surely not one devoted to the Supreme like yourself." The king then turned to the mysterious juggler and cried out, "What sorcery is this? You have woven a net of illusion over me. Even the wise are overcome by the jugglery of Maya."
The king then recounted the most extraordinary experience. He said, "When I saw the juggler wave his peacock feathers, I jumped upon the horse and experienced a slight mental delusion. Then I found myself riding through an endless journey. The horse led me into a desolate desert of blistering cold and barrenness, where nothing lived and no water could be found. I spent what felt like an entire day in this wasteland of suffering and despair." The king continued, "The horse eventually carried me across the desert to another region, slightly less terrible. I rested beneath a tree, but the horse suddenly fled. As night fell and fear gripped my heart, I hid myself in the bushes. The night was longer than an entire epoch, endless, cold, and filled with terror. When dawn finally broke, I encountered a young woman dressed in black, carrying food. Desperate with hunger, I begged her for sustenance. She offered me food only if I would consent to marry her. Desperate for survival, I accepted her proposal. What followed was a descent into an entirely different world. The woman introduced him to her father, whose appearance was equally dreadful. Together, they led him to their village, a primitive settlement flowing with blood and flesh, inhabited by a tribe of fierce hunters. He was celebrated as the girl's new husband, entertained with horrifying stories of violence and death. At a diabolical ceremony, he was married to the woman. He had entered a completely different existence, bound by family and survival, in this savage land. Years passed in this merciless existence. The king had 4 children with the tribal woman. He became a family man, bound by the endless responsibilities of providing and protecting his offspring. He cut firewood in bitter cold, sleeping beneath trees when shelter was unavailable. His diet became pork and raw meat. Over time, his very nature changed. His body darkened as soot. His mind, once noble and refined, became inclined toward sin. Compassion abandoned him as a snake sheds its skin. He hunted birds and animals with cruel traps, moving through the world as a drifting leaf, his only concern food and survival. Then came the ultimate horror. A devastating famine gripped the land. The very air itself seemed to flame with heat. Forests caught fire and became wastelands of ash. People died of starvation by thousands. In their desperate madness, they chased mirages believing they saw water. Some mistook pebbles for meat and gnawed upon them until their mouths bled. The most horrifying transformed into cannibals, consuming corpses, even chewing their own blood-soaked fingers in demented hunger. The once flourishing forest became a vast crematorium. The pleasure groves echoed only with the agonized cries of the dying. Fleeing this catastrophe with his wife and children, the king eventually collapsed in despair beneath a tree at the border of the cursed land. His youngest child, innocent and unable to bear his hunger any longer, pleaded with tears streaming down his face. "Father, I am so hungry, give me food." The king, broken and hopeless, replied in desperation, "There is no meat to eat, my child, but eat my own flesh if you must." The innocent child, without hesitation, simply said, "Give me." In that moment, moved by overwhelming attachment and pity, the king saw only one way to end all suffering. He gathered timber and built a funeral pyre. As he ascended it, ready to end his torment through fire, he shuddered and found himself back in his throne room, surrounded by his ministers.
When the king finished recounting his experience, the juggler had vanished without a trace. The ministers said, "Your Majesty, this cannot have been a juggler's trick, for he sought no reward or payment. Surely some divine entity has demonstrated to us and to you the power of cosmic illusion, Maya itself. This proves that the world appearance is nothing but the play of mind, and mind itself is the play of the omnipotent infinite being. The mind is capable of fooling even the wise. Where is the king learned in all knowledge, and where is this bewildering delusion?"
The king, incredibly, chose to test the reality of his vision. The very next day, he set out with his retinue toward the south, following the geography of his hallucinatory experience. And there, to his utter astonishment, he found the very places, the very people he had encountered in his vision. He discovered his former tribal family still living in that land, suffering from the same drought he had witnessed. He found the woman who had been his wife, now aged and weeping, mourning the loss of her beloved husband. The king, moved by profound compassion, bestowed upon them great wealth to relieve their suffering from the famine.
"I myself witnessed this event directly, dear Rama, and I can confirm every detail. I discovered through my subtle vision that the mysterious juggler was none other than a divine messenger sent by Indra himself, the king of gods. It is the ancient tradition that Indra sends various afflictions and tests to those who undertake certain spiritual practices to measure their spiritual strength. The religious rite that King Lavana had been performing mentally in his palace for an entire year manifested as this hallucinatory experience. The rite was performed by the mind, and the hallucinations were experienced by the mind, yet both had real consequences in the external world."
This extraordinary tale reveals the deepest truth about the nature of reality itself. The mind, this mysterious and often misunderstood faculty of consciousness, possesses powers beyond all comprehension. It can make the unreal appear real and the real appear unreal. It can compress a lifetime of experience into a single hour or expand a moment into eternity. What we call time itself, what we call space, what we call the entire universe, all of these are under the dominion of mind. The mind is the creator, the destroyer, the experiencer. As Vasistha explains, the mind experiences what it itself constructs. The mind is nothing but what has been put together by thought.
The liberation you seek, dear Rama, comes through understanding this fundamental truth. When the mind is purified of its past conditioning through the arising of wisdom, it abandons its previous tendencies and seeks only the self, only to dissolve itself in the self. This is the supreme goal. Destroy the illusion created by the mind through self-knowledge and rest in peace. The same mind that creates all these worlds of suffering can, when turned toward wisdom and truth, reveal your eternal, infinite nature. You are not bound by this body, not limited by these experiences, not trapped by this apparent world. You are the infinite consciousness itself, forever free, forever whole, forever liberated. This is the teaching of the ancient sages, and this is your true nature.
The teaching: the mind is the sole creator of all reality, capable of projecting entire worlds and lifetimes in an instant, and liberation comes through recognizing this power and transcending the conditioned patterns that veil our true infinite nature. Subscribe to Karma Canvas for daily wisdom from ancient spiritual traditions.